Each Tuesday, we sit down with Master Mom Amanda Olson to talk about all things parenting. Well, today, we're answering a question that came in from a 13-year-old boy. And simply put, this teenager wants to know, what is the point of being good? And I have asked myself that.
I think it's something we've all asked ourselves.
That's a question we've all asked our parents, we've asked ourselves.
Yeah, what am I getting out of this?
Yeah, what is the point of being good?
Yeah, well, I was able to actually have a conversation with him face-to-face about it. Yeah, so gave me a little bit more information about what he really wanted to know. And he said, well, I know that there's consequences for being bad.
Right.
You know, I know there's things that will happen to me if I'm bad, but what happens to me if I'm good, you know? And so we talked about that, and we talked about all of the positive things that will happen in your life when you do behave,
right,
all the privileges that you'll be given, you know. And so instead of thinking of my behavior as everything I do, something will be taken away, right, or I'll be punished, think about, well, if I do this good thing, what might be a good result of that? And so we talked about a lot of different things that he could do to have some positive things come into his life instead of just focusing on the negative.
I think it boils down to risk and reward. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it. But
yeah,
but there's so many things when we do the right things, we do the good things in our life. We may not see it initially.
Right.
And I think that's a hard lesson to learn sometimes.
You know, and he's athletic. He's an athlete.
Right.
You know, so we can kind of relate that to, you know, if you're doing the things you're supposed to do in your sport, you know, then you're going to get better, and you're going to get you know, higher awards, right, and rewards from that. And so when you behave at home, it creates, you know, one of my taglines is create a happy and harmonious home, you know. So, you know, when you're behaving and doing the things you're supposed to do, isn't your family happier, more relaxed? There's not the tension and the bickering back and forth, you know. So that in and of itself, just having a calm, chaos-free environment is a reward.
And I sometimes think that, you know, I in my own life, sometimes that calmness, that peacefulness at the home is worth more than a stack of money. It really is.
Oh, yeah. You know, you're trying to get ready for school, and, you know, it's not just you trying to get ready for work, and everything's chaotic, and the kids are stressed when you drop them off, and you're stressed when you drop them off, you know. And so being able to be a part of that team of your family and doing your part to create that harmony at home, a 13-year-old has a big part in that.
I started to say a 13-year-old, that shows a lot of inflection, a lot of looking inside to say, why should I be good? I mean, he's at that point in his life. And do you see that? I mean, you're around teenagers all the time.
Yeah, I was very impressed with, you know, when we got to sit down and talk, I was very impressed with how much thought he had put into that, you know, like, okay, so I'm trying to learn how to get along in society.
Right.
You know, and what's the point of this? What's the point of that? You know, I don't want to be punished this way, but I don't know, maybe it's worth it, you know.
Right.
So we talked about how it's not worth it, and then how when you are doing what you're supposed to do, the more privileges you get. You know, I tell a lot of teenagers, if you want to be able to drive, if you want to be able to stay at a friend's house, then you have to prove that ahead of time, you know, by your behavior. So we talked about the future, the consequences of being good will help him have a more privileged and, you know, fun future.
And I sometimes think, you know, when you look at some of the things like our teenagers are doing these days, like video games and movies and things of that nature, they're seeing sometimes that being bad can be a lot of fun, but there are consequences, and that's what you got to drive home for.
Right, right. And they, you know, if he realizes that, or all teens, you know, if I show this responsible behavior and I listen and follow the rules, then when I want to do something that's a little different, you know, go on this, you know, overnight trip or something, you know, my parents will trust me with that.
And I think this goes back to what you all teach there at Olson's Martial Arts, too. There's some amazing words that you all have on the walls down there all the time, you know, things like integrity and courage and things like that. This kind of goes back to what you're teaching there as well. Yeah,
you know, if you live a life of integrity, then, you know, people will trust you, and there's rewards for that. There are good consequences for good behavior.
All right. And speaking of Olson's Martial Art, new classes starting. How are things going?
Oh, they're going good. We're seeing a lot of new faces, seeing a lot of people coming back, and summertime is always a fun time. A lot of people start things new in the summer, so we're having a great time down there.
All right. Master Mom Amanda Olson, thank you so much. We got it right there on the screen, Ask Master Mom. There's another website, olsonsma.com. phone call away. She's just a phone call away. If you want to ask Master Mom a question, check out Olson's Martial Arts Academy for everyone in your family, and they're located right here in downtown Johnson City.
The preceding portion of Daytime Tri-Cities was sponsored by